What's going on, wrestling fans? It is IC Fall, and welcome to 10 Count on today's edition. It's a double dose of guests because we have the man who is, I guess, running everything for Kevin Nash. It's Sean Oliver. He's on ClickThisTV.com. And of course, we have the man who gave birth to ECW, Todd Gordon. How are you doing today? Both of you.
I'm feeling great. Everything's been a great day.
Oh my God. I know you're on the media circuit right now promoting your brand new book, Todd is God. And I love the title because Todd is God, but the authorized story of how I created Extreme Championship Wrestling, because I have read so many books about ECW, the unauthorized story, or someone who had a vendetta. But why was the right time for both of you to come together, put this book out? Did something trigger something inside both of you that said, we need to put this book out now?
For me, actually, it was the Paul Heyman DVD. When I first ever even considered it, because there was just so much stuff out there that I thought, wow, none of that's ever been cleared up. Nothing's ever been told the truth about. I mean, he let that work last for 25 years. Are you kidding me? I was stunned by that. And that was actually the last time we spoke. We spoke up until that point. And in terms of Sean, he was always trying to get me to do a book. And I said, no, I'm not doing a book. He's got to do a book. And we would just sit on the phone. I'd tell him stories. He'd say, this is a story. This has to go in a book. I go, I'm not doing a book. I did some DVDs together with him. We had a great, rapport there, but I didn't want to do a book. I just want to hang out, be friends. Finally, he talked me into it, and this was the right time for it. Time to clear the air. And again, like he said, every DVD, every book that came out, the unauthorized story. Yes. You know why it was unauthorized? They never spoke to me once. How do you do a rise and fall of a company my company, and I'm not including it, even interviewed. Joey Styles, never interviewed. Shane Douglas, never interviewed. I mean, it was absurd. It was just going to be the WWE slant and the 3 or 4 guys that were like their mainstays from ECW, their slant, which is fine, but there was a lot more going on than just what they had to say. So it's time to clear the air, bring some funny stories up, and there are some funny stories, trust me, and write a book.
Outstanding. Now, Sean, years of convincing, why was now the time for you to finally put down and say, we have to do this?
Well, Todd was comfortable hanging out and just being friends after the DVDs. I, of course, can maintain no friendships in my life if they're not in some way a business relationship. So I said, Todd, if you're going to continue to be in my company, I need a financial stake in this. No, quite honestly, the first DVD we did together was an edition of Timeline, the history of ECW. And we covered 2 years, 92 and 93, which was really, the inception of ECW as we came to know it. And it was a double DVD. There was so much we covered, and I just felt that was just 2 years. And it was a 3.5-hour DVD. I was like, God, there is just so much more. And the more we talked, and the more I would say that Todd trusted me and came to know that I wasn't somebody who would be loose with my lips. He was telling me some of the things that were counter to what I had accepted as truth, because I saw the rise and fall and I saw all that stuff too, and just accepted that. Of course, I knew Todd's role in the company, but I thought he anointed Paul somehow, with a wand in '94, and then Paul picked it up and ran with it. I didn't know the half of what had gone on. So the more nuggets Todd gave me, I would say to him, Todd, this is a book. Why won't you tell this story? I saw an interview he did with Francine, and her mind was blown about one of the details involving the famous mole story. Again, we've all come to accept Todd was a mole. And she never knew that Paul was complicit in that mole story as a way to keep the locker room galvanized when they were starting to fracture. And Todd, I see your eyebrows. You didn't know that either. And Todd is good enough. He had already removed his financial stake from the company, but he went along with it and he stayed there because the guys and the girls that were working, if ECW went under, they were going to lose their job. 80% of the people on that roster weren't going to WWE. So Paul asked Todd, would you go with this story? Let us galvanize us against the world again. We're fractured. This will pull us together. And Todd agreed to be the real life heel.
Wow. Yeah, I think he just blew my mind, just like Francine, because that was one of the questions I've had for years. Was the story is, oh, he's getting WCW, he's going to WCW, and he's going to bring ECW people with him. Todd, that's the story that was out there for so long. So for so long, this story was just fabricated to create the friction between the boys in the locker room and the rest of the world. Correct?
No, not exactly. You have to understand, it was always us against the big guys. We were the little engine that could. Us against WWE, us against WCW. We were shooting at them, and we were trying to equate ourselves with them. So what happened was things got bad when a certain point around 96, 97 in the locker room. What used to be this great family loving atmosphere in this locker room had become this splintered group where here was the New York crew over here was the Philly crew over here was a guy who had his own belt and he made up for himself and his own championship over here. I mean, the whole thing was really getting bad. Everybody's coming to me and saying, look, you help Public Enemy. Can you help us? Can you get us in the WC? Like, get us a job somewhere. Like, I can't live like this anymore, worrying about whether or not I'm going to be able to get a check that clears. I can eat my dinner. I don't want to buy anything. I'm deathly afraid. So, I said, Paul, I said, you're losing these guys. They want me to, I'm going to make the phone call. He goes, no, what's going on? He goes, wait a minute. I've got a brilliant idea. Because you're leaving anyway, right? Yeah. How about there's a mole in the company and I can get this whole locker room back together against all of us, against whomever. Now we've tightened the ranks again. Look, I wanted the company to succeed. I wanted to go on forever. You know what I'm saying? I was still getting paid, my money out of it. It wasn't just financial out of it. It was, whatever it took. My best friends are there. They're still my best friends. Sandman, Fonzie, Sabu, Scorpio. I mean, these are people I talk to like religiously. We're that close as a group. So basically, he went with that. I went with that, and of course, you have to understand the way Paul operates. It's like you will come back in a year as the greatest heel in the history of professional wrestling. You'll be joining them. I mean, Newt Rockney. I said, hey, I'm not them. I know you. It's good. I don't have to come back. No, you don't understand. You have no idea how big we can make this. I said, hey, I don't want to make this out like I'm walking away. Don't keep me alive that way. Let it go. But over the years, my legacy kind of like disappeared, and that was really not cool. But I accepted it. I lived with it until Sean said, "It's time for you to stop doing that. It's time for you to tell people what the fuck really happened out there."
Yeah,
Make a duck noise.
And I'm very happy that you are sharing that in the book, and of course, right now, because as time would go on, that was the narrative. That was the only narrative. That was this guy, Todd, started ECW. And you're like, okay, that's great. And then as time went on, it was, oh, but did you hear the story about WCW? And that's why he's not there anymore. And Paul Heyman is the guy who's going to bring us to the next stage of the revolution. And you're like, oh, okay. So you stop believing, because just like I was like about 12 years old, 13 years old watching ECW, I was underneath the impression of let's cheer for the underdog, let's boo the bad, the big corporations with all the big money. And yet he's kind of painted you with both brushes, as you did help the revolution, but you also eventually, turned on the revolution. And obviously now this book's coming out and the truth is going to appear. And if I was you, I can't imagine, because you are the father of ECW, but yet for years it's been known as you turned on ECW, and that's bullshit.
I don't think that many people really. I don't know. I've been in enough conventions. I've never once had one person ever come up to me and say, "Oh, did you do this?" Like it was like
because they're face to face with you, though. That's why.
Possibly, I guess.
But
the guys who knew me, the guys who were my friends. I mean, they knew the truth. But they still wanted to work. They knew back then. I mean, right. Fonzie knew, Sandman knew. I mean, these guys all knew the deal. But I told them, don't fuck it up. Keep the company going. It's got to live. Here's the easiest thing that no one figured out. In all these years, no one figured out. If I wanted the company to go under, I'd have taken the tape library with me. All the B-rolls that went on for everything you've ever seen. That was it. See, ECW was done. I gave him those tapes. I gave him access to all of that. I said, here, you're going to need it. We've been using it since day one. Keep roll the stuff so you look back. Oh, when Shane beat this guy, you show the match. Otherwise, you got nothing. So
Right.
obviously, I was trying to help the company, but the people who just didn't get it, and the people who did.
Did you own the library and did you sell it
Yeah,
to
of
Paul
course.
Heyman?
No.
You didn't
Gave
sell
to
it.
him.
You
Gave it to
gave.
him.
So it's written on a contract somewhere that you're going to give them, or you just physically was like, here you go.
I just said you could take access to it. It's fine. There was no
Interesting.
transaction with it. It was still under my, ownership from Eastern all the way through. But when he went bankrupt, then Vince was able to come in and say, "Now it's mine." I went, well, wait a minute. What happened there? Like, it's mine. And then we got into a lawsuit over at least the Eastern tapes. So I thought that was a no-brainer. I went to a big law firm who said, this is contingency. Don't give us a dime. It's a no-brainer. I can't tell you about Extreme because that's kind of iffy with the Paul thing, but Eastern, obviously. I don't know, 6 months later, when Lord calls me up and says, we're over 100 grand in right now. To keep this guy's relentless with his lawyers. To keep this thing going, we're going to need you, 50-50 with us. I said, well, how much longer can this thing go? I mean, I want to spend $500,000 to get a tape library worth $200,000. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So eventually we ended up cutting the lawsuit for no other reason than it became too expensive.
Wow. Because obviously you didn't think ECW was ever going to fold because you believed in the product. You believed in everything it was going for. So giving the tapes to Paul saying this will be in good hands, you didn't see the bankruptcy obviously coming forward.
Well, no, because his father's downfall, and his father had, nice sum of money to put into the company, and they kept it going for a couple of years. But he was, going through it so quickly without anybody there to monitor and say, hey, we got to pull this back, pull the reins back. Can't spend that. Can get an airplane to fly Sandman over a pay-per-view for no fucking reason at all. It doesn't make sense. It's without me there to do that financial reining in, it was inevitable, I guess, at one point.
So question is, when I would watch ECW, it would be on the Spanish channel where I was from at like 1 a.m. on Friday nights. That's where I got to see it. Now, obviously you had magazines and you had other things to glimpse. Oh, what is this? What is this? This is different. This is cool. So were you aware of where and when ECW was airing when you were in charge of all that? Because for me, again, 1 a.m, the Spanish channel on Fridays.
No, I was aware of obviously our Philadelphia slot because that's our first slot. Then we purchased time on MSG and on Sunshine Network in Florida. We thought those could be our next two big hotbeds. I wouldn't have done that. It almost seems like a burial here, but everything you're bringing up is the bad ones instead of the good stories. But at that point, Paul said, New York's done, covered. I got all the advertising. I'm Mr. Studio 54. I'm Mr. New York. They're fighting over who's sponsored the whole show. Forget advertising. Well, we never got one commercial. That's $3,000 a week. Florida, I knew was a gamble going in, but that's also $3,000 a week. All of a sudden, it's $24,000 a month, and we're not getting a return on that. We're still only getting the money back from our DVDs our VHS tapes that we're selling, to Japan, no less. God bless the tape traders. There's no internet. Has the internet been if we come along 5 years later and been able to sell these arena shows for $5 a piece or whatever to people watching, there's no way I would have had to leave the company with the money. It would have been a whole different world. The income coming in would have been insane.
Yeah, and it's funny you said the VHSs because I definitely had a bunch of them. But I went to a WrestleCon in 2013, and I was buying bootleg ECW DVDs because they didn't sell all the events. And so I'm buying original copies with original music on it, and I'm having a blast. I'm buying it. I bring it back to my hotel. About 2 hours later, my buddy calls me and says, did you hear what happened? I go, what happened? Like, the Fed showed up at this WrestleCon and took all these bootleg ECW DVDs. And I
did not know that.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2013 WrestleMania 29 in Jersey. So that's where that's where it was. And I bought a crap ton of them, and they were all wonderful. Let's not talk about all these sad, weird angles of stories. I want to hear some road stories, some good times, because obviously when you started ECW, what was in your brain the concept? Because it wasn't Extreme Wrestling at first. It was Eastern Championship Wrestling with Shane Douglas throwing down the championship of the NWA. That history has been told. But what was your guiding light to think, I want to do this?
Well, because the guys came up to me after Joel Goodhart went under and said, please, just keep this going. Just let's do a bar show once a month. Keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Get a license for us and blah, blah, blah. And we did. To me, it was fun. It was a hobby once a month, 80 people, 100 people in the audience. There's nothing to get excited about. Then we did the pilot. So I came up to our videographer who said, I really need TV. Started a new channel called Sports Channel Philadelphia. And the Flyers, the Sixers, the Phillies, but no programming. It was just starting. He goes, can you get me any programming? I goes, I'm taking video for a wrestling company. He goes, can you get a pilot? He goes, can we get a pilot? I went, sure, we can get a pilot. What? So naturally, we did. We got a pilot. And we got the gig every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, Philadelphia. Well, now I got to put a TV show together. So I'm trying to think, what do I really want here? What kind of show what do I want to do? I mean, my whole philosophy since day one has been, I want to put on shows that I would want to see. Because I couldn't stand what I was watching on TV. It was a cartoon. Everybody was a cartoon character. It ruined what I had grown up loving and just like living for. And it's like so depressing. So I got Eddie Gilbert to become my booker. I was going to try to bring up the hardcore Memphis style. The Moondogs every week were on TV smashing people with the trash cans and this, and that's what I wanted to start with. That was my beginning point. I just wanted something a little more hardcore. There was nothing hardcore at all anywhere. I mean, when I say hardcore, I mean believable. When I grew up, I watched Bruno and Killer Kowalski and Gorilla Monsoon, and it was believable. I was like, oh my god, like I wonder what happened last Saturday night at the arena. I had to wait till the next show to find out whether Bruno won or not or lost the title because it was believable.
Yeah,
I wanted to do the same thing, and more so as time went on. But from the beginning with Eddie, I wanted to be violent. I wanted to be hardcore. I wanted to be blood and guts, and I knew there was a big audience for it. I didn't know how big. Believe me, I didn't know how big. That came to astound me. But that was my goal originally, just to have a more Memphis style product.
Now, Sean, did you watch ECW when you were a whippersnapper?
I did. I was fortunate enough to be in the New York television market, so we benefited from Todd's brutal MSG deal where he began to spring leaks in the boat, but I got to see it. And, I was in college, I guess. Yeah. And, being a product of the Northeast wrestling like Todd, I too watched Bruno and Backlund and Superstar Graham and then Hogan and the very much entertainment era, which was fine because I was 12, Hogan and Piper and great. But when you're 20 and this product is now pig farmers and hockey players and Isaac Yankem, the dentist.
Yeah.
And, parallel to that in regular mainstream entertainment, you've got grunge music and Nirvana and Soundgarden, and things are getting darker in the movies. The Tarantino, the bad guys are cool now. The WWE product did not hold up to anyone my age. Then my friend shows me this crazy thing that's on at midnight on MSG Network. And for a moment, I'm willing to suspend disbelief because I didn't really have to, because a garbage can's a garbage can and a table's a table, and I know basic physics. So it wasn't hard for me to suspend that. And the thing that was so attractive to me beyond the action in the ring, honestly, was they were talking to us, the smart fans.
Yeah.
I say smart not as a testament to my intelligence, but to the fact that I read dirt sheets. That's what I mean. Anyone who doesn't know wrestling, that's what made me smart, that I knew what was going on in the business. And they would do creative shit and swerve us. And we would turn to each other and go, holy shit. They knew exactly what we were thinking. That was all I needed. The stuff in the ring was a bonus for me. I knew the guys running this company knew me as a wrestling fan, because Todd's considerably older, but he wasn't. He was me. He was frustrated by what was lost in the product he loved as a kid.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I really do believe that my being a fan made that product was what it was. 'Cause I hated certain things. I hated stipulations that didn't happen. I hated when someone lost their mask and pulled it off and had another mask on underneath it. I hated stripping matches where, somebody came out with a towel or a jacket where the girl's top came off. I hated tag team must break up forever. And like 6 months later, they're working together on TV. That insulted my intelligence. I decided I want to do something that doesn't insult people's intelligence. If I say we're going to have this match where losing tag team never tags again, well, guess what? Ian and Axel Rotten, a tag team for 15 years, never tagged again. Because that was the stipulation. Super Destroyers early on got a mask. He got a mask. Angel Amoroso, topless in the ring. We said it was going to be that kind of. So we delivered on every stipulation. And the fans appreciated it. They finally said, "Oh my God, we're not being like yanked around here." They're like, we're getting what we've always wanted. It was like this hardcore things that they're promising, but now we're getting it. They're delivering on it instead of like, bait and switch. And that's what I was. That was like my philosophy. Our first big show. Abdul the Butcher, Kevin Sullivan, Terry Funk, and Stan Hansen in the main event. I wanted to see that. So I knew my fans wanted to see it because we were simpatico. We were always simpatico with the audience, by the way. But I'm just saying that's exactly how it worked.
Yeah, there was so much happening in the early days too, because I feel like some people only know like Barely Legal 97, the first pay-per-view for ECW on. They don't know what was going on before that because there was no pay-per-view, there was no distribution of DVDs, VHS tapes to show you, this event happened with Sabu and Rob Van Dam and people like that. So obviously the distribution was a huge deal for you. So was that how you got your product out to more eyeballs? Was we need these VHS tapes, we need these DVDs, we need the magazines to cover us, because without that, we're on these random channels all the time. We don't have an exact channel on an exact date every time.
Exactly right. And, all of our commercials, were ECW commercials. So we weren't selling advertising. Part of that was we didn't have an advertising team. We had me, like sitting there talking to all the wrestlers, talking to the lighting guy, talking to the sound guy, setting up, the next town, getting a building. I also was running a business that was supporting this, so it's like I didn't have time to get out there hitting the advertising company. It was hard. It was a lot to be done. And we're like a one mom and pop ship, and for a while just a pop ship, so that was hard. But let's go road stories. You started to ask me about road stories.
Yeah, let's hear some road stories.
And we stayed right on that. Let's go. Let's bring it back.
Let's talk about the good times. Let's talk about the good times. We all hear about the locker room of ECW, so let's hear about it.
Which was like a mass unit after every show, by the way. Which is why we only ran 2 times a week. These guys' bodies couldn't take more. I mean, literally, it was like a mass unit back there. Okay, road stories. I'm going to give you the Sandman story because he's the easiest one.
Of course.
And the easiest one to do. And probably my best friend in the world, along with Scorpio and Fonzie. But he and I go back from like day one. We live right near each other. We share the same birthday, whatever. There's a hotel that we used to stay at called the Travel Lodge, which we call the Loser Lodge. Once a month after the weekend of the arena shows at the Philadelphia Arena, our arena. And one night we're sitting in the hotel room, just cocktails, drinking, relaxing, smoking a doob, whatever. It's Fonzie, Sandman, myself, and Scorpio. And out of nowhere, Sandman goes, "Yo, is this room 705? And we all looked at him and went, "Yeah." "Oh my God." He goes running to the corner of the hotel room, the bedroom. He starts ripping up the carpet. I said, "Dude, what are you doing? I got to pay for this shit. Are you crazy? Why are you?" Pulls out an 8-ball cocaine. I went, "What?" Now, understand something. We've stayed in this hotel now 6 months in a row since he put it there. He just forgot. He was taking a plane back to Utah at the time. He had a temporary job in Utah, and he didn't want to carry on the plane. Now, again, we've been in 6 different rooms since then. The 4 had adjoining rooms, but he forgot completely. 7:05 went ding, ding, ding. Now we're all laying around. We are hysterical. We're laughing our asses off. He goes, Scorp, come with me. Then he was walking down the hallway with a snot rag hanging in his pocket and bare feet, no shirt on. There's always blood trickling down his forehead. He goes to the elevator, this giant planter. Scorp, give me a hand. I'm fine there just watching him. What is going on? Scorp helps lift it up. He goes, oh, oh, another 8 ball. We are now literally, we're almost throwing up. We're laughing so hard. He just told them all those 8 balls he hid in the hotel and forgot about 6 times in a row when he stayed there.
Oh my God.
Typical road story. One of many in the book.
I was gonna say typical road story. I've interviewed many wrestlers, probably 300 now, and yes, those are the stories that somehow we get to all the time. We hide something somewhere. We remember where it is.
It was hysterical.
Oh my God, that is amazing. The fact that so in your book, Todd is God, we're gonna get more stories you haven't shared on air, because I'm imagining, we're not here to spoil anything in a book, because I want everyone to buy this, because I love ECW and I love everything you put into it. But the fact that you're sharing stories now, I hope that we're going to get some
that
stories.
One story as a tease.
Yeah.
There's at least 5 more, 6 more Sandman stories.
I would say, Sean, Sean, writing this book, you must have heard stories that you were like, I'm sorry, this is real?
It was great. It allowed us to, Todd would tell it to me. We would laugh. I'd write it. We'd be reviewing what was written. And then we had the enviable task of drawing out the details and the drama in such a way that the payoff is as funny reading it as it was right now watching Todd recount it.
Yeah.
Because he would say to me, there was another very funny story about 911 on the airplane. Remember, Todd? You were like, no, you gotta slow that down. You gotta draw out the drama. And he's sitting on the plane and he begins crying. And 911's, what was he?
Huge man,
6'9",
yeah.
350 pounds, and sitting there crying. And the people around him, they say, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Oh, I just." I lost my 3rd wife. She ate bad mushrooms, right? You're shaking it. You see, this is exactly what happens. I'd write it, and Todd would go, "That's
why don't you read the book?"
Right, I should again. You're right.
You did. Well, I say you
killed the punt. You killed everything.
Good. Well, finish it then.
How about I started? He didn't say my 3rd wife died. Come on, man.
Give me a martini.
I know what's going on. I wish I was here.
We're on the plane. Al's got someone or other. He managed it. Everybody up out of their seats around him. He goes, "My 3rd wife just died." Really? He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "You don't understand. My 1st wife died. Yeah, from eating poisoned strawberries." Poisoned strawberries? What? Wait, it gets crazier. My 2nd wife died from eating poisoned strawberries. Now, these people are looking at this giant of a man going, "Honey, are you okay?" Oh my God. And how did your 3rd wife die? From a blow to the head. She wouldn't eat the poisoned strawberries. That's the punchline, Sean. He didn't start with the 3rd wife with a strawberry. Come on. Read the book.
Read the book. Come on, Sean.
So then Todd decides that he's going to get the rub from 911 and tell this story at an event at the Shriners Hall in Pennsylvania. So he's in the kitchen area with some of the older Shriners, and so Todd's like, "All right, this is perfect. Got a small group, 3-4 guys. I'm going to do this." And he starts to well up, and he says, "They're like, you okay, man?" He's like, "Yeah, my wife died." And so he starts it, and one of the Shriners puts his hand on Todd's shoulder and goes, "I know how you feel, brother. My wife just died too, cancer." And Todd's like, "Well, there goes that. There's no joke going on now. He said, I'm sorry to hear that. And had to walk out of the kitchen. Blew a spot up.
Yeah. That it's always unfortunate when you see someone in a suit and you're like, would you go to a funeral? They're like, yeah, I did. And you're like, damn, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, at least you nailed the second part of the story. That's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The thing about the book is it is all those crazy stories. It was really funny, Steve, to read. We just got our review from the Library Journal review. You know, they put out a review for all the libraries looking to buy books so they know what's to come. So they had to. They said it was entertaining and well written, but they went on about the crassness and crudity of the stories being related. I think in the middle of it, Todd, weren't they like particularly a romantic encounter between Missy Hyatt and Sandman? So
yes.
I'm very proud that all the libraries are now going to have to surmise on their own what exactly that encounter was, and they're all going to order it because of that.
Of course.
Because of those very words, they'll all put a copy on their shelves.
Yeah, I've seen right now social media is buzzing with everyone posting videos of them going to stores and purchasing this book. So it's happening. And of course, on Amazon right now, the #1 wrestling book right now is Todd is Gone, the authorized story of how I created Extreme Championship Wrestling. So that's got to feel good because we are in maybe a week, 2 weeks of this book being out, and already we are skyrocketing.
One
day.
Came out yesterday.
I was gonna say, because I definitely read the book, and I have I actually have 2 copies of it. So that's what's funny about it is I actually have 2 copies. So the fact that people are out there are going to buy this and get the real story, the authorized story, because that's what I want everyone to understand in this interview is we're not getting the third comments from someone who was sort of there as a wrestler, who was sort of involved with merchandise. No, we're getting the father of ECW telling the story from top to bottom, left to right. So everything, Todd, everything in this book, it's authorized by you, of course.
1,000%. Ask any worker, any wrestler, anybody I ever dealt with in the business. No one will ever tell you that I ever lied to them once. And again, in this book, I don't do so either.
Good. And, maybe it's not in the book, maybe it is, but in 2006, I was at ECW One Night Stand 2, seeing John Cena lose to Rob Van Dam, and I see a commercial air. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, this Tuesday on the Sci-Fi Channel, ECW returns. I'm like, what is this? So when you saw this, how do you feel? It's like watching your son or daughter suddenly just become something completely different. You're like, a zombie? What's going on?
That's it. That's what it. Oh my God! See, he's like Sean's laughing because it's exactly what it was. I started to watch the first episode. I saw this zombie come out. I said, "That's it. I'm done." They're back to cartoons. A first freaking match. Are you kidding me? That's exactly what the anti-ECW. And I genuinely believe that Vince brought that back. Whether you want to say he worked everybody else, maybe he did. I believe he did. He hated. And I know that for a fact. I loathed the fact that people would yell ECW, ECW during his live shows. And I came across on TV over and over again. So he put the belt on himself, called himself the ECW champion, and tried to get as many people as possible to turn off of the product and hate it and stop it. And yet, was it a month ago? Paul's on Raw in Philly, no less. And the whole building, 20,000 are going in 2023, mind you. ECW, ECW, ECW. And he's trying to sell it against, yeah, those letters are dead, blah, blah. But the fact they were legitimately saying that 30 years later, you know how humbling and amazing that is?
It's got to feel good.
It's incredible. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, of course. You never heard WCW chants. No,
but they had Wildcat Willie running through the audience going, Wildcat Willie, WCW, WC, and nothing.
Didn't really catch on. Because even after ECW closed in 2001, you would see table spots, ladder spots, whatever. EC-dub was a chant. It wasn't holy shit. It was EC-dub. And as you brought up, I've asked Rob Van Dam this question, and he kind of said it. Like, I asked him, do you think he brought it back just to kill it so those chants would go away? And Rob said yes. So, Todd, do you think, you kind of alluded to it, he brought it back just to get rid of those chants?
Exactly why I think he did it. And that's why I put the belt on himself, to make that company, those letters, be so reprehensible that you didn't want to yell it anymore, because when you're yelling for Vince if you're doing that. But these people are smarter. Our fans are smarter than that.
Yeah.
Way smarter than that. And they're still yelling. And that's amazing, man. Like, seriously, how's that possible? It is, again, overwhelming. It's humbling. It's all the above. It's like, I'm so touched.
I'm just so happy that your book's out now, and I'm so happy that you're getting your flowers, because for so long, again, that odd WCW mole rumor has like carried through time, and I'm so happy that we're finally getting rid of that, and we're adding everything that belongs to your name, and that is the man who created ECW, the man who gave us all these memories. Without you, we wouldn't have all these, remember that, remember this, and that was so great, and I wish it was like that again. We're never going to get those times again. We've moved forward in time like we do with anything, but to allow you to finally be the face of ECW and get what you want, I think is just well-deserved. So I want to say, seriously, an honor and a privilege sitting here just talking to you about the stories, how it was started, your book, because you've earned it and you've deserved it all these years, and it sucks that since you didn't work for the WWE, you didn't get to be on all those DVDs celebrating ECW. It was always the unauthorized. But now here we are now. Final thoughts on this book, though. How do you think that the wrestling world is going to take to this book? Because for so long, spoon-fed one story. Now we're going to be fed something completely different. And do you think people are going to be able to accept the truth?
If they don't, I'm in no different position than I was in before I wrote it. You know what I'm saying? If they do, that's great too. I love the fact of the enthusiasm of people buying the book, though. I mean, that's right away. If you come out #1 the day you come out, like, that's awesome. Like, these people, they want to, they're still there. These are, I guarantee, half the people buying the book were the ones who were there in 1992, 1993. These people, they can't get, and it's something they never read, something they never saw. The stories, as I said, the road stories are. The Sandman one was the tip of the iceberg. There was no sex involved in that one. Okay, there are plenty of great road stories. There's plenty of history there. You know, going from a bar show with 80 people, and how each guy came in, Snuka, Morocco, Ivan Koloff. I tried to learn from each of them. I'm learning on the fly. It's a whole new business for me. I'm a businessman, but this is not like a regular business. This is like, a whole new world when you walk into it like that. So, I made some mistakes, but I learned on the fly, and always tried to do the best I could, try to be as honest as I could, and give the fans an honest product. If I liked it, I assume they liked it. That's always my thought process.
Well, we liked it, definitely. Sean, are you happy that finally Todd is getting everything he's deserved all these years? Because you've obviously had a relationship with him for a long time, but yet here we are now, and everyone's going to finally get all the truth coming out.
It was part of my the impetus for my doing this. Part of it was that Todd needed to be in his rightful place in ECW's history. Paul Heyman, certainly a ton of contributions for the product we came to know and love, but absent from that narrative is also Todd Gordon. And this is, I got to write something very Shakespearean in its we go into a small village, and the bar shows, and then we follow our hero through the triumphs and also the betrayal, and it was, and I think is, and people are sharing these comments, it was as interesting from a business standpoint and a relationship standpoint. Todd and Paul was close as you could get. I mean, they weren't brothers, but they were certainly blood brothers in a way. So from the relationship standpoint, the business standpoint, and then the wild backdrop of ECW makes this such a unique project. There wasn't a second that was boring about putting this book. Laborious, yes, never boring.
I can't imagine stories about Sam finding coke inside of a rug of a hotel, and that's the tip. That's the tip of the iceberg. If that's the tip, the bottom half is, I cannot wait for everyone else to take this all in, because it is just I love ECW. I still love ECW. I will always love ECW. And the fact that now everyone is going to get to feel the love one more time around is just outstanding. #1 Amazon, one day out. That has got to be a history right there for many professional wrestling fans, including you, Todd. But Todd is God, the authorized story of how Todd, the God, it created Extreme Championship Wrestling. As a wrestling fan since 1992, I advise everyone to go buy this book. I've read so many books where I'm like, this cannot be true. Hulk Hogan bought some Andre when he was 755 pounds. This cannot be true. I know facts. This is not a fact. But in this book, we're going to get the facts finally. So I want to say it's been an honor and a privilege talking to both of you today, talking about this amazing book, this project. It has been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Sean, talked to you before, so it's not really an honor. It's just having a good time. But
much like my presence in the book, I'm incidental in all of this.
You're just the guy writing it all down, having to take the stories and put it to pen to paper. But Todd, it has been an honor and a privilege talking to you today about everything. Final thoughts. What do you want people to know?
Hey, I want you to know that I greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. You did a great job with the interview. I mean, this was like first class all the way. You did a great job, and I appreciate you, and I thank you. And I just want the fans to know I haven't stopped loving them and appreciating everything they did, because without them, where am I? I'm nowhere. So yeah, I'd love them all. All good.
We love you too, man, and it's been a privilege and an honor talking to Todd Gordon. Sean, I guess it was fun talking to you too. But I've been Steve Fall. This has been Tank Count. Have a great day. Go buy the book, or I'll put you through a table. Have a good one. Bye-bye.